since his existence, man has ruled the earth. In the future, the rules will change.
This, of course, comes from Paul Verhoeven, and it was kind of seen as a sort of a return to form after Showgirls, was the last movie he did, was seen as a major misfire, both critically and financially. But that being said, this movie did not get the best reviews coming out of its original release. It was reviewed negatively by critics. A lot of people thought it was promoting fascism, criticizing the violence and the performances of the mainly young cast, and several accusations against Verhoeven and the screenwriter Ed Neumeyer of being Nazi sympathizers. But the film did okay numbers. I mean, it didn't do the worst numbers. It brought in $121 million against its budget of $100 to $110 million. It made its money back, and then some, considering the status that this movie has today. But here's the thing about this movie that was not made fully aware when this movie came out. The movie is a satirical comedy, not even a comedy, but a satirical action movie that was more seen as more comedic and didn't take itself too seriously than what was initially considered at the time. Because, I mean, you see it in that little teaser right there. The big problem with the movie is that they sold the film as a straight-up action movie instead of an actual satire, which this movie actually is when you really look at it. I mean, look at the people that cast in this movie. Casper Van Dien, Dina Meyer, Denise Richards, Jake Busey, Neil Patrick Harris. I mean, these guys were young actors at the time, but it's in their 20s and late 20s, early 30s. I mean, of course this was not meant to be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. And I think as time goes on, people have realized that, okay, we missed the point all along. And since then, it has gone on to become a cult classic and has become a very profitable franchise that has had several direct-to-video sequels, which are much, much worse than what people probably would have thought of the original film, as well as an animated TV series, video games. I mean, this film has had a lasting legacy many, many years after its release. And for me personally, I'm one of those people that's like, I got what they were going for. I thought some of it worked. I thought some of the lines were pretty funny, but I'm not completely in love with it like everybody else is. I'm kind of on the same level as something like The Fifth Element, a movie where everybody loved that movie. You know, everybody thought that was a underrated masterpiece by Luc Besson, which it's one of his better movies, but I don't think it's a straight-up winner all around. I think there's a lot of things about it that aren't that great, and there's definitely a lot in this particular movie that you could take on that same level here. But like I said, I got what Paul Verhoeven was trying to go for here. I got the satirical elements of it. And like I said, there are scenes in here that are actually very funny. I do like the mixing of both CG and practical effects in here, even though a lot of the effects in here look very dated. But at the same time, I got where they were going at. I just didn't think it worked all the way through. I thought it was a little bit too... I don't know, it just wasn't too... It didn't do anything really groundbreaking or unique to make me really appreciate it like everybody else does. I did realize what they were going for at the beginning here. I never thought this movie was going to be taken seriously whatsoever, and I'll give them credit, though. Like, I'll give them credit for at least trying. I don't think it worked all the way through. That's just my personal take on it, but at least it's a lot better to watch than something like Showgirls, a movie that almost would have killed Paul Verhoeven's career after that, but luckily it didn't, and his career kind of got back on track here after this. Just checking here to see if he did anything. He did a couple movies of noteworthiness that we'll eventually get to. Movies that I think are fun in the way that they're handled, including Hollow Man, which was his next film, but we'll eventually delve into that one once we get to that one. But it was, like I said, it's a nice return to form for him after what happened with Showgirls. Not the best movie overall, but certainly not a terrible movie by any means. I get why people love it. I thought it was just okay. I felt it could have been a whole lot better, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. So that's Starship Troopers. Let's go ahead and move on to another film that was, I think, unfairly criticized. Dustin Hoffman and John Travolta in Mad City.
To tell you, okay, I got two things I want to tell you.
I'm not listening
Two things.
to you as long as you're holding that gun. I'll tell
Mr. Banks.
Get that stupid thing away.
That was a sharp one, right?
Are you going to listen now?
We're in the middle of a hostage situation at the Museum of Natural History where our correspondent, Max Brackett, is being held hostage.
Do you want to tell us why you're here? No. crazy. I know you're not a terrorist. I know you're just an ordinary guy who popped his top.
People don't listen to guys like me.
You gotta connect with those people out there.
I want everybody to back off, and I'm talking when I'm good and ready. How's that?
Sounded good to me.
With a simple demand, the madness started.
You have to ask for a Learjet or a fast car.
I just want my job back.
I don't want him understood. I want him out here and arrested.
With a reporter's ambition, the story grew.
Mobilize every camera and audio crew you can get.
Big bucks. Show business.
With the media's power, it became a spectacle.
You know that Sam Bailey is making you famous?
I just want to go home, okay?
Is getting the story the same as getting the truth?
Please don't have any control, so now some news guy's running things.
Is the news what we need to know, or what we want to hear?
How do I know you're coming back?
Because you're the best show in town, Sam.
It may be unethical.
I don't want to cross the line, Lou. I just want to move it a little.
It may be immoral.
What are you doing? You know you're going to sink the guy.
I'm not sinking him, he's sunk.
But it makes great television.
This insanity benefits your career.
I hope it does.
The world is watching.
We're in Madeline, California. We got this guy Sam Bailey.
Say that, you said my name.
Why have you chosen to stay on in this volatile situation?
But is anybody listening?
I didn't mean for this to happen. I wasn't trying for this to happen.
When I go in front of the camera, I will say that you're in charge. Say thank you. Thank you.
You're manipulating it.
I'm not manipulating anything. I'm controlling the story.
I don't know. I'm just kind of like this guy that has a job, you know, goes to work every day. I don't know if anyone cares. I don't know if anyone's listening to me.
It's my daddy.
I actually really like this movie. I know a lot of people criticized it when it came out. It was not seen as a big hit critically or financially. In fact, even Dustin Hoffman has gone on to say that this is one of those movies where he regrets working on it. He notoriously called it mad shitty, which in some ways I can probably see where he's coming from, but the film as a whole, like, I don't know, man. I kind of enjoy it for what it was trying to do. I mean, you have John Travolta, who plays this man who loses his job. He's so upset about it that he decides to take a Natural History Museum hostage. He's a disgruntled postman, which was apparently a common thing back in the 90s, because you see movies and TV shows where they talk about disgruntled postal workers. I mean, Naked Gun 33 1/3 starts with a Untouchable sequence that literally has disgruntled postal workers as one of the threats in the beginning of the movie, and it's played for laughs. But here, I think people got the joke about that pretty quickly. But like I said, he plays a disgruntled postal worker who loses his job and takes a museum hostage. And he has this journalist there, this news reporter, played by Dustin Hoffman, who's in the museum when this occurs. And he gets the scoop, and the story just starts to spread nationwide. And and soon everyone's talking about it. And the news reporter basically is trying to tell the guy who's putting everybody in the hostage situation how to handle the situation so people will notice him. And in a way, I think it's actually kind of a fun little satirical concept about how the news media can oversaturate stuff, get these stories to go over more than they should. I mean, you see in the trailer that this story gets mentioned on both The Tonight Show and Larry King Live. I mean, I think that's a fun idea to play around with here. Does it work all the way through? Probably not. I don't think it's a strong film overall, but I certainly don't think it's one of the worst movies ever made, like many people thought it was. But I like what they were going with the idea here. I think it is a fun idea to satirize the news media and how they overblow several stories like this. And it's funny that Dustin Hoffman had this movie come out the very same year he had another movie where he had to use the media to help create a fake war in Wag the Dog, which is a far better movie. We'll eventually get to that one once we get to Christmas time. But yeah, I think this is a pretty solid film. I like Dustin Hoffman and John Travolta in here. You've got a great cast that includes Mia Kirshner, Alan Alda, Blythe Danner, Ted Levine, Raymond J. Barry. It's directed by Costa Garvis, who gave us Music Box, Betrayed, Missing, the Jack Lemmon movie from the 80s. I mean, I think it's a really solid film. I don't think it's a perfect film all the way through, but I definitely think it's a lot better than I think people give it credit for. I remember wanting to see this movie when I was 9 years old, and I saw the trailers for it. I don't know, for some reason, I got invested in it. I got hooked into this idea. Yeah, and I don't know, something just made me want to see it, and it took me a long time to actually get to see it in theaters. Not in theaters, but on DVD in full. And I thought it delivered what I thought it was going to deliver. I thought it was an overall enjoyable film. It definitely has a lot of flaws to it, but I'm one of those few people that actually really likes this movie a lot. I would say I'd recommend checking it out, but I don't know if most people would like it either. But you should give it a try. Give it a try. Go into it knowing that it's not going to be a great film whatsoever, and actually would be is more of a fun idea of how the news media overblows everything, and it kind of makes for a pretty intriguing film, at least in my personal opinion on it. But the next movie, I think we can all agree, is a very good movie. It's Kasi Lemon's Eve's Bayou.
They were a family who loved life and lived well. You love your daddy, baby. But there was something hidden.
You are a curse. She thinks I'm driving you away.
Deep beneath the surface.
How do you kill someone with voodoo?
She was a child.
Could you give me something for the past?
Daniel,
Damn for hurting you.
Samuel L. Jackson, Lynn Whitfield, Eve's Bayou, rated R. Starts Friday, November 7th.
So Eve's Bayou takes place in 1962 Louisiana, and you have the Batiste family, who's headed up by this Dr. Lewis, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and he's married to this beautiful woman, played by Lynn Whitfield, and he has a weakness for attractive female patients, and one night, Lewis tries with his marriage and has an affair with this other woman, not knowing that he's observed by his own daughter, played by a young Journey Smollett-Bell, who you'll know from stuff like Lovecraft Country and also Birds of Prey, and who's there by accident. Eve can't forget this incident and has to share this secret with her older sister. And of course, you can kind of tell where everything is going to go there. Chaos ensues, and it's just a fantastic movie, man. This is a really, really good film, directed by, like I said, directed by Kasi Lemmons. And Kasi Lemmons, she's made some pretty good movies. She did this movie. She did The Caveman's Valentine. She did Talk to Me, which is a very good film. Her worst film I think she's done is Black Nativity, and I think that was a movie that was trying to be... It didn't know exactly what it wanted to be. Did it want to be a straight-up musical, or did it want to be this serious drama? And I remember seeing that in theaters almost 10 years ago at this point, and I really thought to myself, this is the same director that did Eve's Bayou? Really? But then she kind of redeemed herself a little bit after that with doing the Harriet Tubman movie, and then recently Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody, which was not a great film overall, but I like the performance of Whitney Houston, the person who played Whitney Houston in that movie, which is... I can't remember, Naomi Ackie, who I thought was the best thing about that movie. I actually did a review for that film. If you want to go check that out in the corner there. But this movie is fantastic. This is, I think, her best overall film as a director. Not only do you have great performances by Samuel Jackson, Lynn Whitfield, Diane Carroll, Lisa Nicole Carson from Ally McBeal, Megan Good, Vondi Curtis Hall, you have Branford Marsalis in here, but Journey Smollett in this movie, you could tell how great of an actress she was going to be just from this small performance in this movie. I mean, she was really incredible in this movie, and she's shown over the years how great of an actress she really is, starring in, Lovecraft Country, Birds of Prey. She was also in Friday Night Lights, the TV series, as well as True Blood, which is a show I'm not the biggest fan of, but I mean, she's really a really great actress. I really liked her, and I've really liked her performances over the years, and this performance that she gives, her very first performance, is just top notch. I mean, this is a really good movie with a story that's kind of been done to death several times already, but they find a unique edge to it to give it its own, to give it an identity, to make it stand up on its own, to make it something like you have to see this movie and you'll see something very different and very unique about it. Every performance in this movie is well done. It's a terrific film, an amazing achievement by this director and this cast as well. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's a really great film, and I was so happy I was able to pick this up on Criterion recently. We got the Barnes & Noble's 50% off. Criterion still going on as of the time of recording this, so if you really want to see this movie and you want to get a good deal on it, head to Barnes & Noble and get this movie because it's definitely worth a watch. I'd highly recommend this movie. This is one of my favorite movies from '97. It's been a long time since it took me a long time to see this movie but I'm so glad I did. This is one of the best movies of '97. Like, it definitely be, I don't think it's in my top 10, but it'd be probably 11 or 12. It's that close to being one of the best films of the year, and I recommend it. Check this movie out. You will not be disappointed by this film. So with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Helena Bonham Carter in The Wings of the Dove.
Miramax Films presents.
Why do you want me to be with her all the time?
I want to marry you. I'd do anything to marry you.
What are you talking about?
She's ill. She's getting worse. She's not going to live much longer. And she loves you.
You want me to seduce a dying girl? And you really think she'll just leave me all her money?
I never. I know how she loves.
A world where nothing is what it seems.
I love you. Both of you.
So you got this woman played by Helena Bonham Carter, whose mother was born to wealth and privilege, but she threw it all away to marry Kate's father, Kate being Helena Bonham Carter, played by Sir Michael Gambon, who's this penniless opium addict who admits to have stolen stuff from his wife, and after her mother's death, she's offered an opportunity to return to the life that her mother gave up. And there's one condition, though. She has to sever all of her old ties, not only to her father, but to her lover, and this journalist, played by Linus Roach, who she had promised to marry, and she agrees to all this. And in the meantime, she becomes friends with this rich orphan, played by Allison Elliott, an American making the grand tour. And desperate to see Kate, Merton crashes a party that she and Millie are attending, and Millie is attracted to him. When Kate learns that Millie is dying, she comes up with this plan to have her cake and eat it too. But all does not go as planned. I have not seen this movie before, but I can already tell this is one of those movies that you realize, oh yeah, Helen Bonham Carter is actually a pretty good actress. I mean, when we think of Helen Bonham Carter, we think of all the time she's been in Tim Burton movies. She's been, also the fact that when she shows up in these big blockbuster films, she's not really given a whole lot to do except to just look weird. There also is some good talent behind the scenes. The director of this is Ian Softly, who also did Backbeat and Hackers, and later go on to do K-Pax. The writer of this movie is Hossein Amini, who later go on to write the really good Drive with Ryan Gosling in it. So there is good talent aboard, not just in the cast itself, but also with the people behind the scenes. So I'm more than likely to believe that this is probably a good movie. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out, but that's all I pretty much know about this movie right now. But let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, and that is David Caruso in Cold Around the Heart.
Hit the shop at 2:30. Slowest part of the day. Only 3 employees. Smash and grab. Gives the cops only 3 minutes to respond.
They thought they pulled off the perfect crime, but their getaway.
Dad, we're not going to make it, are we? Are we?
No. Was anything. But perfect. Now, she's got the jewels.
First thing he's gonna do is come gunning for him.
A movie that you probably never even heard of, but it has notable names on it. The director of this is John Ridley, and we already looked at what his first movie he ever wrote, which was U-Turn, which came out earlier in the year. But, of course, he's the man who went on to write the Academy Award-winning 12 Years a Slave, the one that won Best Picture. But in this movie, you basically have 2 criminals who are also lovers, played by David Caruso and Kelly Lynch, who kill 3 people in a jewelry store robbery. Ned gets caught, but he escapes and vows revenge on Jude, who actually gets away, pushed him out of the getaway car, and Ned is joined in the hunt by Jude by a woman hitchhiker named Beck, who's played by Stacey Dash. Chris Noth is in this movie playing T. And the funniest thing about this I just saw right here is that Kelly Lynch's character is not just named Jude, it's named Jude Law. Like, of course, Jude Law has had a couple movies is in this year, so it's kind of amusing that his name is actually involved in this. And that's probably the only notable thing about this particular movie, because the film itself is nothing all that memorable. In fact, when you look at it, you almost swear this was a direct-to-video movie, but it apparently went to theaters, and the one weekend I see here, it only made $552 in just one theater, which is nowhere near as bad as the $300 that Trojan War made earlier in the year, and nowhere near as bad as the $30 that Sussex Road would make 9 years later. But this thing actually did make money, as I see here, $5,171. So I don't know where that other money came from. Maybe it did extend to other theaters after this, but other than that, though, I know nothing about this movie. I don't know if it's more than likely not any good. And it's mostly because I've never even heard of it, and there's no real reason to believe, just even on that plot alone, that this could be anything that interesting whatsoever. It's only an hour-and-a-half movie, so I really doubt they could get a whole lot in this movie going on. But it's got some prominent names in there, so maybe it's something interesting, but I've never heard anybody really ever talk about it, so I'm just going to assume that it's probably not that great of a film to begin with. So anyway, that's another David Caruso flop in the late 90s. That is Cold Around the Heart.
Can you kill this person?
Yes.
How much?
$70 million.
They call him The Jackal. He operates in secret.
No KGB member has ever seen him.
And his target, guy's going for the gold, has only one chance.
What will it take for you to help us?
Remember, public and brutal.
Bruce Willis, Richard Gere, Sidney Poitier. The Jackal.
So as I kind of said before, this is the second time that we're looking at a movie in 1997 that was basically a retread of The Jackal, with the first one being The Assignment, which came out a few weeks prior to this. But this is the more notable one because, one, it was a bigger hit than The Assignment, but more importantly, it's notable because it did not get the best reviews and is largely seen as a film that most people generally forget about because the film itself was not that great. And you know, for a straight-up reimagining of a loose take on The Day of the Jackal, the original 1973 film, to do this in a modern day, it's obviously you're going to have people that are going to be very optimistic about this. I mean, the director, the producer of the original film, Fred Zinnemann and John Wolfe, opposed the production and eventually filed an injunction from Universal Pictures to prevent them from using the name of the original novel or film on there. And it would have had to been marketed as an inspired by film rather than directly based off the novel by Frederick Forsyth. And even Edward Fox, who was in the original Day of the Jackal, refused to make a cameo in the movie because of that. And so, yeah, needless to say, if you're gonna that should give you an early warning sign about this movie. And yeah, this movie is not that great, despite the talent that they have on here. I mean, Richard Gere, Bruce Willis, Sidney Poitier, all amazing actors in other movies, but in here, they're dealing with a film that's so watered down, so uninspired, and so let's play it safe. It's an uncomfortable experience to watch. Like, there's no real fun factor in this movie. There's nothing intriguing going on in this movie. Everybody here is kind of a dumbass too. I mean, there's nobody in this movie that you can really get behind because everybody in this movie is really, really stupid. Like, what's the biggest takeaway from this movie? Oh, you get to see Jack Black get killed by Bruce Willis in one scene. An early Jack Black, I should say, but is that really all you want to take away from this movie, or do you want to actually have a movie that actually asks you to think about something, actually wants you to get invested in the story that's going on? That's what happens in the original Day of the Jackal, and that's why that movie is so special to people. This is just straight up garbage. I mean, this movie has way too many good people involved in this, and you expect a lot more considering the talent on board here, especially the director that they have, Michael Caton Jones, who also did Doc Hollywood. He did Rob Roy, Memphis Belle, Scandal, movies we've talked about on this show on a number of occasions. But this in particular was the start of his inevitable downfall as a filmmaker, because he never really made a great film after that, and most of the movies he's made were either not just disappointments or notoriously bad movies, stuff like Basic Instinct 2 and City by the Sea, and this clearly was not up to par with. This is clearly the beginning of the downfall for Michael Caton Jones as a director, and it just didn't work as a whole. It's a real letdown of a movie on so many levels. Too many good, talented people on board. Should have been a whole lot better than what it was. So yeah, like I said, we could move on to the next movie, but I'm going to save that one for a little bit later on. But let's go ahead and move on to the movie that came after that, and that is Bill Murray in The Man Who Knew Too Little.
There's a new name for action, for irresistible, for the deadly. Whoa, that was loud.
What are you, CIA, Mafia?
Both. Wallace Ritchie is about to be mistaken. Yo, matey, you just stabbed me with your pen. For a real secret agent.
Daddy, may I please borrow the keys to the station wagon?
He thinks it's all just a game. But they're dead serious.
I've never seen a dead body before.
Well, you gotta check and see just how dead they are. You don't have to be able to catch this.
You are so twisted.
He's got the courage of a lion.
Please don't kill me, man. I'll give you anything. I give you all the money I got.
The strength of a bull.
Fabulous.
You said nothing about American Superman.
You're a sweet little pocket rocket. What fun.
And the reflexes of a cat.
Door's locked. Okay. Those real cops?
Can I see your driving license?
No, you may not.
This fall,
That is so refreshing.
the intelligence community gets a little less intelligent.
Did I get a last request?
Like a cigarette or something?
I had something more substantial in mind.
Cigar? Man, he's a god. I'm sorry, I was a little insensitive. But
Ant-Man. Bill Murray is...
Oh, time out. I got some in my eye.
the man who knew too little.
Because if Larger Than Life wasn't enough to show how little Bill Murray gave a crap in the late 90s, here's The Man Who Knew Too Little, where he basically plays an American who gets a ticket for this game show in London, England, and then he gets involved in a case of mistaken identity, and as this international plot unravels around him, he thinks it's all part of the act. And this is a parody of the Alfred Hitchcock 1934 movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much, as well as his sequel as remake to that 22 years after in 1956. And I've never seen a trailer make this movie more unfunny or more unentertaining than what I just saw there. I mean, this is Bill Murray at his absolute worst. I know the Garfield movies are bad. I know Larger Than Life was not a great movie, but this is the worst of the worst. This is the worst movie he's ever been involved in that I can think of. I mean, a movie that is just not funny by any means necessary. There's no good jokes in the movie. The chemistry between him and Joanna Whalley is not great whatsoever. You have too many good people involved. There's Peter Gallagher, Alfred Molina, Richard Wilson, Geraldine James, Dexter Fletcher, Eddie Marsan. Just too many good people involved in this movie. And Bill Murray should know better than this. Bill Murray can be very, very funny. He could take any bad script and usually make something good out of it. But at the same time, this is one of those examples of him just not being able to do that. It's a film that's just so lifeless. The jokes aren't funny. The jokes aren't clever. The humor isn't clever. The chemistry between the two leads isn't interesting whatsoever. The story isn't intriguing. It's just a mess of a movie. And this is directed by John Emile, who's done not the best amount of works, but at least some films that are actually tolerable, like stuff like Summersby, Copycat. I mean, this is just one of those movies that's just like, what were you thinking, dude? It's just like, everybody in this movie, you gotta be asking yourself, what the hell were you guys thinking when you decided to make this movie? I mean, if you know what it reminded me of, honestly, the more I think about it? That Tom Hanks movie, The Man with One Red Shoe. I mean, it's pretty much kind of the same plot. It has kind of a lot of the same elements to it, but that movie's at least more clever and at least has more funnier moments in there than this. Like, that one was actually trying. This one was not. This is a film that's just really... It's depressing to watch, especially with somebody as talented as Bill Murray. Like, this is a guy that deserves a whole lot better than this, and I guess I could say that luckily he'd go on to make some better things after this. I mean, he did make better movies after this one. This wasn't a movie that completely killed his career, but it was a movie that kind of slowed him down big time for a little bit, but... So yeah, that's The Man Who Knew Too Little. So let's go ahead and move on to yet another underwhelming film that came out this weekend. Mike Figgis' follow-up to Leaving Las Vegas, and that is One Night Stand.
I'm a commercial director. I have 2 children and a very beautiful wife. I'm in New York for business just overnight. Are you all right?
Just say
I have something to tell you. I'm worried about you. An entire life can change in just one night. One night stand. Rated R.
Would you expect anything less from Joe Esterhaus, who wrote this movie? Well, technically, he wrote the first draft of it, and then he had his name removed from the project once Mike Figgis came along and rewrote it. And just think about this for a second. If you it's like the fact that Joe Esterhaus's final script was not used for this. Maybe they won't. Then again, come to think of it, the more I think about it, maybe they should have just used that script, because what we would have gotten there certainly would have been a whole lot better than what this movie is. I mean, this movie, it's a standard premise. You have this guy played by Wesley Snipes, who's a television commercial director. He's happily married to this girl played by Ming Na, of course Mulan, who has 2 children. And when he goes to New York, he meets this woman named Karen, played by Nastassja Kinski, and they end up essentially having an affair. And then he returns home, and Max clearly has no idea how to feel about himself. So, and a year passes by, and both Max and his wife fly out to New York to meet his friend Charlie, played by Robert Downey Jr., who's near death from AIDS. And he meets Charlie's brother, played by Colin McLaughlin, and is introduced to his new wife, Karen, Nastassja Kinski. And facing Karen sends Max into an emotional tailspin. He realizes that he must tell Mimi the truth about his indiscretion. You see what's going to happen at this point. I don't really think I need to explain what happens after this point. Like, at the same time, though, you kind of expect a little bit more from this movie, considering the talent on board here. This is Mike Figgis' follow-up to Leaving Las Vegas. In fact, he was shocked Leaving Las Vegas ended up being successful. He said that he thought that would bomb horribly and this would be a huge commercial hit. And he basically said he's glad Leaving Las Vegas did well and still doesn't know what happened with One Night Stand. I think, honestly, what happened was the biggest problem with it is that a couple things came into play here. One, you're doing a movie about infidelity, and this is a tough thing to make a movie out of. It's hard to make a movie like this work, and also trying to add in these elements in here, like the subplot about Robert Downey Jr.'s character dying of AIDS, and, the fact that at the time Robert Downey Jr. was having drug addiction problems, and, he was, this was kind of the start of Downey Jr.'s brief downfall at this point, before he eventually come back in the later half of the next decade. But you have so many things going on in this movie, and you don't have any likable characters to really get behind. I mean, right from the beginning, Wesley Snipes in this movie should be really good. He's given it his all in here, but his character is just so... He's just so full of himself. Like, every character in this movie seems to be full of themselves. And it's just like, you can't really get behind anybody, because we all know how this is going to end. We know what the downfall is going to be. We know exactly how this is going to transpire when it's all said and done. And it just didn't come together, I think, as well as I think they wanted it to. The acting overall isn't terrible. Everybody's given their all to these performances in here. Like Wesley Snipes is very good. Stokes Starshikinski, Kyle MacLachlan, Ming-Na, Robert Downey Jr. I think is probably the best person in the cast overall. You have Glenn Plummer, Amanda Donahue, Thomas Hayden Church, Julian Sands, Xander Berkeley. Great cast overall here. Just the script was the biggest problem this movie had to deal with. I mean, the movie could have been a whole lot better, probably if the script had been better, if we had gotten to know some of these characters more, if they weren't all condescending and most of them were unlikable. I mean, there's nobody you can really get behind except for Downey Jr., but he's dying of AIDS, and we know he's not going to make it to the end of the movie, and it's just like, you expect a whole lot more from him. So yeah, another real disappointing weekend from people that you should trust more when it comes to the scripts they're given, and you hope for a good movie, but One Night Stand definitely is not that movie. It's a pretty big disappointment. We've had a lot of big disappointments this weekend, but we have at least one movie that is pretty good, and it was Fox's attempt to get into the animation game and give Disney a run for its money, and that is Don Bluth's Anastasia.
An enchanted world.
The dawn of Imperial Russia.
A sorcerer's curse.
I will not rest until I see the end of the Romanov line forever!
A young princess
Anastasia!
who vanished without a trace. One of the greatest mysteries of all time is now the most magical motion picture event of our time. 20th Century Fox proudly presents Anastasia.
Although the Tsar did not survive, one daughter may be still alive.
Alive? Ain't that the kick in the head? I guess the curse just ain't what it used to be, huh, sir?
It's the story of an orphan named Anya.
You want to find your family, huh?
And a dreamer named Dmitri. Do you see what I see?
Yes!
You think that I am Anastasia?
That's why I'm stuck here in limbo. Oh, don't get so grabby. They're teaming up to find a clue to her past before the evil Rasputin destroys their future.
I want to look my best.
Whoa, that fell right out.
The last of the Roman horse will die.
You're gonna have to jump. After you. Baby. I guess I'm nursing.
From the streets of Russia
Anya!
to the lights of Paris.
I will see no more girls claiming to be Anastasia.
You have to talk to her. Finding the truth
You really are Anastasia.
will be their greatest challenge.
You will address the princess as Your Highness.
And following her heart
We can grow a lot together.
Princesses don't marry kitchen boys will be her toughest choice. What goes around comes around.
I'm not afraid of you.
Hold on! This can only end in tears.
And bring me home at last.
give her a ha and a hi-ya, and I'd kick her, sir.
I mean, a lot was riding on this movie. This was their 20th Century Fox's first attempt from their own animation company that they started. Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, who had been working on their own company for a number of years, making films that weren't as successful as their early works. They eventually became the head people behind the company, and this was the first movie that they were going to do, and this was the first movie that was trying to do exactly what Disney did. I mean, they take a lot from what Disney had done. They bring in the celebrity voice actors, they bring in this gorgeous-looking animation, they bring all these musical numbers in here. This is a film that they had a lot of high expectations for, and the film did pretty well. It was a big hit. It was a critical success. It was also a financial success, grossing over $140 million. And it made, it was Don Bluth's most successful movie as a filmmaker, which is incredible to believe considering all the films he made beforehand. And like I said, you had a great cast to work with here. Meg Ryan, John Cusack, Kelsey Grammer, Christopher Lloyd, Hank Azaria, Bernadette Peters, Kirsten Dunst, Angela Lansbury. And the story is very much a similar story structure to the Disney Golden Age movies. And there are notable flaws to it. I think the review that Doug Walker did for the Nostalgia Critic last year, I think, was a perfect summation of all the things that were kind of wrong with the movie. The editing overall is very off. Like, they have all the big musical numbers in the movie, but they all just kind of end quickly. Like, they end and then they go immediately next to the next scene. Like, in the case of something like The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, you have all these songs and sequences in the movie, but you also get the time, they also give you time to relax after what you've just seen, and then they move ahead to the next scene. Like, they have those brief pauses in there. The editing overall in this movie probably hurts the film a little bit more, but it's not an overall threat, it's not an overall bad thing whatsoever. I mean, the movie overall is still very enjoyable. I will also say, though, some of that trailer kind of spoils a lot of the big story elements of the movie. I mean, of course, the big thing is that Anastasia is going to go find her grandmother, the Grand Duchess, played by Angela Lansbury, who's really good in the film as well. I think she's one of the stronger elements of it. And they kind of just give away kind of the big plot points, some of the big plot points that happen there. Like, she eventually gets, her grandmother eventually figures out that, yes, she is Anastasia. And then John Cusack's character has that whole thing about, princesses can't marry kitchen boys. Like, which is a very weird law if you really think about it. I know it's not exactly what they were wouldn't be what exactly is in the rules in this, but the fact that they say it a couple of times in this movie is just like, they almost make it seem like it is in there, but it's one of those weird things to add into the movie. It's just like, it feels kind of weak, honestly. It feels like kind of a weak thing to have kind of a third act breakup at some point, but as I said before, the movie isn't terrible by any means. It is a really enjoyable movie. Would I say it's one of Don Bluth's greatest movies? No, I wouldn't. I would still say stuff like The Secret of Nim, Land Before Time, American Tail, even All Dogs Go to Heaven are much better movies. I'll say it's definitely better than than most of the 90s movies that he made that were not very good, with the exception of The Pebble and the Penguin. Like, I put this just above Pebble and the Penguin. I do like Pebble and the Penguin a lot more than most people do, but I do admire this movie a lot. I think this is a film that is very well done. I think it's a film that shows that, hey, other studios can do what Disney do and do it right. Like, they did this better than Warner Brothers would eventually try to do with Quest for Camelot the following summer. And, like I said, it was a big hit. I mean, Disney really thought that Don Bluth was going to come back in there and try to get him again like they did in the 80s. So clearly Disney had to do something about it. I mean, they had to do something, you'd have to do something really crazy, like, I don't know, re-release the movie that kind of started the second golden age of the Disney Renaissance in 1997.
Whoa! Before a young lion became a king, before a beauty tamed a beast, before Aladdin unleashed a genie, there was a little mermaid who dreamed of something more. Coming back only to theaters this November.
I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing up where they're... He's very handsome, isn't he?
I don't know, he looks kind of hairy and slobbery to me.
He's in love with a prince.
wish I could be.
Lost your senses completely. He's a human. You're a mermaid.
Walt Disney Pictures invite you to enter a world of enchantment where dreams do come true. Sing with me now.
Don't be scared. You gotta move prepared. Go on and kiss the girl.
At this rate, he'll be kissing her by sunset. It's time Ursula took matters into her own tentacles.
I lost her once. I'm not gonna lose her again.
Look out!
This November, coming back only to theaters.
Under the sea. Under the sea. When the sun begins to begin, it's music to me.
All the magic. All the music. And all the unforgettable characters.
Mermaid of the Port Bow!
Of Disney's most beloved animated classic, The Little Mermaid.
Teenagers, you give them an inch, they swim all over you.
Oh yeah, they did that. That was actually the second highest grossing movie this weekend. The Little Mermaid coming out was in theaters for only 17 days for the Thanksgiving holiday, and Disney purposely put that in theaters because they knew Anastasia was coming for them, and so they had to do the same thing they did with The Swan Princess 3 years prior to them. I mean, take one of their newer classic movies, re-release into the theaters, and take some of the money away. But I mean, The Little Mermaid did pretty well in terms of that re-release. I think it brought in about. Now I'm blanking right now. Okay, the re-release brought in about $27 million more to the total of the film, bringing it up to $123 million in total. And the box office overall worldwide is $235 million, which was a pretty decent deal for a film that was only in theaters for 17 days. I mean, it was literally in theaters for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then it just went away. It was basically Disney trying to take away as much money as they could from Anastasia, but Anastasia did still end up being very profitable in the end. As far as The Little Mermaid goes, I pretty much covered this movie already on the previous episode. So if you want to hear what I had to say about that one, go check out the Corner episode there. You'll see the weekend that came out. And I thought that was very interesting to bring up there. I mean, The Little Mermaid did pretty well, but keep in mind, Anastasia was only in limited release this weekend before eventually going wide the next weekend, and that's what. And I wanted to bring that up just to add a little bit to the information there. So what am I saying? That's Anastasia and also the re-release of The Little Mermaid. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, which is The Tango Lesson.
I've been following you in the tango, Pablo. But to make a film, you have to follow me. Are you ready?
So this is an Argentinian film from this director, Sally Porter, whose last movie was Orlando with Tilda Swinton. And Sally Porter plays herself, a filmmaker and screenwriter suffering from writer's block who's dissatisfied with her latest film project, which features the fashion industry. So she travels to Paris, where she meets this dancer named Pablo performing tango. She becomes obsessed with the dance and offers Pablo a part in her film in exchange for dance lessons. The two eventually become involved as dancers and eventually lovers. Their intimacy threatens the success of their dancing together, and this film explores the conflicts between the woman dancer accepting the man's lead in the dance, while the man must accept the woman's lead in the film. It's a love story and a showcase for Verone's director, and Pablo Verone, I should say. And when you look at the trailer for this, I got the sense of they were trying to do a modern-day version of La Dolce Vita, Federico Fellini's movie, which is phenomenal classic film. If you have not seen this movie, you need to see that movie. La Dolce Vita is a really great film. This feels kind of like the gender reversal of that, where instead of the man being seduced by the woman in that movie, it's the opposite way. You can tell the film was directed in black and white, and it looks really intriguing. And I really like La Dolce Vita a lot, and I feel like this movie takes a lot of inspiration for that. I think it could be a pretty good movie. I've never seen it before, so I can't really say if it is or not, but the fact that it looks like they're trying to do a modern-day take on a modern-day version of La Dolce Vita, which I've said before is a really good film, I think that's more than enough to probably check this out one day. So I don't know, maybe one day I definitely will check this one out. I have my curiosity is piqued on this one, I should say. So, Yeah, so that's a Tango lesson.
Every generation, an ancient gateway opens that links the Earth with another world. But this time, the ultimate evil has been released. Now, the fate of our planet is about to be decided. Last time they fought for their lives. This time they're fighting for ours. Excellent.
They're gonna do with half the cast from the first movie not even back for this one. I mean, you can kind of see it right there. Almost nobody returned from this movie, with the exception of Robin Cho as Lou and Talisa Soto as Katana. I mean, you have James Ramirez as Raiden, Sandra Hess as Sonya Blade. They do add in people like Lin-Red Williams as Jax. They also add in Musetta Vander, who you may have seen in Kicking and Screaming, and also Van Helsing as Sindel. And yeah, the thing that they were setting up in the last movie, half those people get killed. Okay, not really, but Johnny Cage is the one that gets killed off, by the way. Also not played by the same actor from the first movie. I mean, and I should also mention that Paul W.S. Anderson... Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson. I keep thinking it's the other Paul Anderson, but like I said before, Paul Thomas Anderson probably would have made a good Mortal Kombat movie. Paul W.S. Anderson, not so much. He does not return for this, though. It's directed by John R. Leonetti, who is making his directorial debut after being a cinematographer for so many years. And, yeah, this movie's not that good. I mean, Mortal Kombat, the first one, was just barely passable. This is downright terrible. This is the movie that I think everybody was expecting the first movie to be like. Except the first movie was at least trying to resemble the video game, even though it was a PG-13 rated film. And to be honest, it's still better than the one that we got in 2021, the R-rated reboot that was supposed to be what everyone thought it was supposed to be like. It's just a bad sequel. It's just so not entertaining whatsoever. The sets look cheap. The action's not that great. There's so many plot holes in this movie that make no sense. Like, probably the biggest plot hole of the movie overall is the fact that Katana has to face off against her mother, Sindel. Let me be clear about this. Talisa Soto was 30 years old when this movie came out. The actress who plays Sindel is Musetta Vander, who is 34 at the time this movie came out. I don't think I need to tell you what's wrong with this. Either this chick had Katana is when she was only 4 years old, like something out of Drawn Together, or I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they thought of that. Like, just stuff like that just makes no sense whatsoever, and it's all throughout the movie. Like, you can't get any investment or any excitement from this film whatsoever, and it's just a bore to watch. It's torturous to watch, and nothing of interest happens in this film. There's nothing exciting, nothing intriguing, nothing incredible. It's just a waste of time, and it really destroys any potential this movie has of being any good whatsoever. It's a mess of a film. Like, I can't stress that enough. The first Mortal Kombat movie isn't a classic, but at least it was trying, and the reboot they did recently was okay. It definitely could have been a lot better. But this one right here is easily the worst one of the series. Like, this definitely killed the series for a long time. No wonder it took them almost over 20 years to make another movie and try to get it right, even though that one didn't really work out all the way through. But regardless, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is not a good film. So, anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is John Grisham's The Rainmaker.
Dead due to their next breakdown.
How can I after you?
I hope you're done.
In a world where justice is a game,
I want to expose these people. You're always going to have your work cut out for you.
And power is an asset.
Do you remember when you first showed on? You better watch your back.
Courage is the only defense.
I thought you might have managed. We're going to take water now.
The Rainmaker, rated PG-13, starts Friday, November 21st in theaters everywhere.
The story behind this movie is that Matt Damon plays this young attorney, Rudy Baylor, who's out to make a difference in the justice system. He's also the only hope of an elderly couple after their corrupt insurance company refuses to pay out a claim that could save their child's life. And in this drama, Baylor races against corporate lawyers, corporate judges, and abusive husbands, all with the help of a fellow lawyer played by Danny DeVito, who hasn't even passed his bar exam. Facing long hours in the courtroom, and this is only his first case. And I gotta tell you, for Francis Ford Coppola, this is his first movie after the infamous Jack, and boy, did he need this film. I mean, this is a great return to form for him. It's a very underrated John Grisham adaptation. I mean, this is one of the more underrated movies based off of one of his novels. You have a great cast: Matt Damon, Danny DeVito, Claire Danes, Jon Voight, Dean Stockwell, Virginia Madsen, Mickey Rourke, Roy Scheider, Danny Glover, Randy Travis is in this movie as well. I mean, there's so many good, talented people in this movie, and they do keep this movie investing and exciting to see where it's going to go from here. And a lot of people don't really talk about this movie compared to some of the other Grisham movies that have made for successful films, like The Firm, and The Pelican Brief, or The Client, or Time to Kill. Like, those are movies that stand out the most from the Grisham library that have been well regarded as hits. Meanwhile, this movie just kind of gets pushed to the side. It's in that category of the films that didn't do so well, like The Chamber, or The Gingerbread Man, or Runaway Jury, but it is still a really solid film. It's a very underrated movie. I think Matt Damon shows a lot of his early chops as an actor. This is before Good Will Hunting came out, too, to keep in mind. He's really good in the movie, and he has to play against all these seasoned veterans within the cast themselves, and he does a very good job of sticking with it. It's a very good film, a very solid, underrated movie. I'd say definitely check it out if you could find it. It's a really good film. It's one of Francis Ford Coppola's more underrated movies, too. I mean, he has a lot of underrated movies to his name that you really should check out, but this is definitely one of those ones that I'd highly recommend checking out. So that's The Rainmaker. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, and that is Clint Eastwood's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Porter wants an inside look at Savannah society. But once inside, getting out,
I may be leaving tomorrow. You leaving tonight?
Can be murder.
Oh, that Jim Williams went and shot somebody. Kind of bad.
Everyone knows I'm innocent.
Just how to put our friend away for life. Like everyone.
Academy Award winner Kevin Spacey, John Cusack.
Truth is in the eye of the beholder.
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Rated R. Starts Friday, November 21st at a theater near you.
Based off of a novel of the same name, you follow this antique dealer, Jim Williams, who's played by Kevin Spacey, and he's on trial for murder of the male prostitute who was his lover, and the multiple trials depicted in the book are combined into one trial in this film. And you have John Cusack in here as well. Jude Law is also in here, Alison Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's daughter, Bob Gunton. Some good casting overall here. But this is definitely one of Clint Eastwood's lesser films. It's a film that I think has a lot of good ambitions to it, but combining all the elements from the one book into this film, I think really does hurt the movie, because you're trying to figure out how this is. You're trying to get invested in this, and there's just so much going on where you just can't really get fully into the effects of this film. It's a film that just really so much potential there with the people involved, and it's written by John Lee Hancock, who's become a really well-known director and writer who's done The Rookie, The Blind Side, The Founder, some really good films overall, but this is a film that just really has a lot of high ambitions, but just not the best execution. I mean, it's not very good. It's a film that's just it's a real letdown of a film, considering all the people on board here. It's one of Clint Eastwood's weakest films as a director, no question about it.
I love you with all my heart, with every molecule, with every atom. I love you on a subatomic level.
This is going to be the very last time I try to marry you.
I'd rather die than disappoint you.
On the most important day of his life, Philip Brainerd, the world's most absent-minded professor, made a few little mistakes.
Oops. Wow, what a bang.
And one gigantic flub.
Flubber. Flubber? Sounds like baby shampoo. It's a metastable compound. If you apply a small amount of energy, it
liberates an enormous quantity of energy.
This definitely has applications in the field of sports.
When I exit this window, the flubber will send me right back up unharmed.
Are you nuts?
Ta-ta, my love.
Walt Disney Pictures presents a classic story.
Oh, sorry, first time flyer.
A boy meets Ghoul.
Get him!
This Thanksgiving, discover the stuff that dreams are made of. Robin Williams.
Hit the deck! It's Flubber!
Flubber.
Oh boy.
I hope you people out there found that amusing, because that is the entire movie. Loud noises, comedy that's not really all that funny or clever, and characters that you really, really do not like. Like, it takes a lot to hate a character played by Robin Williams. Robin Williams is a terrific actor. He's made a lot of great movies, but he's also made his fair share of terrible movies. This is definitely one of his worst ones, because he plays a character that you're supposed to root for, you're supposed to get behind. But I'm sorry, this guy is just such an obnoxious character. I mean, he doesn't want to marry his fiancée. He's missed 2 weddings. He misses a 3rd one in this movie. And like, everybody in this movie is just so stupid, because the fiancée in this movie, played Marcia Gay Harden. Like, any normal person, if your husband-to-be misses your wedding not once, not twice, but 3 times, you call it off at that point. But not in this movie. No. If we did that, we wouldn't have a movie. And by the way, even after all this is said and done, he still misses the wedding at the end of the movie. So that's 4 times in this movie that this guy misses this wedding and by the end of it, we're just supposed to accept it. It's just like, no, this doesn't work in real life. And I know this isn't supposed to be real life, but still, like, you don't like anybody in this movie whatsoever. Robin Williams' character is obnoxious. Marcia Gay Harden's character is supposed to be this this president of the college, and she's stupid because she still sticks around with this guy. Everybody else in this movie is just stupid. Like, there's these different subplots going on here that make no sense whatsoever. Like, one of the kids that from this professor's class, Robin Williams' class, gets a bad grade, and you know what? And they just and the dad of this kid, the kid played by Will Wheaton, basically says, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send my goons out to them to give him a better grade, because why not? I mean, why not do that? I mean, it's so stupid. Like, that doesn't make any sense. The subplot about Weebo, played by Jodie Benson, who honestly is one of the best things about the movie, and also kind of the worst things about it, because the performance starts off fine, and then for no reason in the second half of the movie, there's another subplot that comes in where Weebo kind of wants to have sex with the professor, even though she's a robot, and creates this hologram of herself, which is supposed to be Jodie Benson. And it's just like, I get what you're trying to do, and yet you're trying to make this like a magical, whimsical moment in here, but no. If I see a ghost of a woman walking up to me while I'm lying in bed, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, and I'm doing everything I can to get the hell away from you. Like, you might think that's charming, but no, it's not. It's really not. And everything about this movie is so just wrong. The humor in this movie is not funny. The jokes in this film are not funny. There's there's another subplot where Robin Williams' character uses the flubber to help this basketball team, and they're supposed to be the nerdy the underdog basketball team, because they're all nerdy and they all have glasses. Every single one of them has glasses. Even the coach has glasses. It's just like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of this whole thing? thing. It's just like, this whole movie makes no sense. The only real character you like throughout the course of the movie is Christopher McDonald playing the bad guy. And you know why you like him? Because he straight out tells you everything about his character. He's basically just... It's the first moment he comes on screen... It's the first moment he comes on screen and meets Professor Brainerd. He basically says, I'm back to basically steal your soon-to-be wife from you. Like, he literally says that. And Robin Williams thinks it's funny, but no, like, that performance he gives is just like, no, he's serious. And it's just like, I could hate the guy, but you know what? He's the most sensible guy in the entire movie, because he's basically telling you everything you need to know about his character. And you know what? He was still the funniest character in the entire movie. He's the one character that you actually get behind. Like, the visuals in this movie are abysmal. The whole movie is nothing but loud noises, this really over-the-top CGI that just looks terrible by today's standards. And even back in 1997 would look horrible as well. Like, it's just... It kind of goes back to what we've been talking about with most of these live-action Disney movies in 1997. Most of them were pretty bad, with the lone exception being George of the Jungle. And the sad part about it is, it just keeps going from there, because we get at least 3 more years of this. Like, whoever was running the live-action department at Walt Disney Pictures, like, they should have gotten their ass fired years before this, because we're not even scratching the surface of all the bad live-action films the studio has done in those 3 years. Like, but this is the most obnoxious, it's the most absurd, it's the most ridiculous, it's the most stupid. It wastes way too many talented people. This is directed by Les Mayfield, who made Miracle on 34th Street, which is a great underrated remake written by John Hughes. And speaking of John Hughes, guess what? He's the writer of this movie. Like, he'll put an alias to his name on stuff like Beethoven or Made in Manhattan, but he's proud of this. He's so proud of this. Not to mention he's also proud of the next movie that comes out the following month, but I digress. Flubber is just a mess. We can talk about how bad this is on so many other levels, but we gotta move along here. So, yeah, it's a terrible movie. Avoid it like the plague. So, and needless to say, it doesn't get any better from there, because our next movie is the 4th installment of the Alien series, Sigourney Weaver and Winona Ryder in Alien Resurrection. Just because we needed to stop having people say Alien 3 is the worst of the Alien series, here's this movie, Alien Resurrection, given to us by the director that gave us Delicatessen, written by Joss Whedon, right as he was beginning to make his name with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series. And Ellen Ripley's back again. This time she's a clone, and an alien queen is surgically removed from her body, and it completely takes away the character that we've come to know and love from the last couple of movies and turns her into this bizarre, heavily horny Ellen Ripley, who's just like, everybody she talks to in this movie, she like wants to have sex with. Like, it's really uncomfortable is to see her in this movie, because she's not really making any sense with anybody involved in here. And it would help if the movie had some kind of clarity or any idea of what it was trying to do, but it's just the same movie over again. It's the same movie we've seen done over and over again. And it's like they're trying to make it because Alien 3 got such a bad rap, and they thought that, okay, maybe it's time to delve into something new and unique with it. And there ain't nothing new and unique with it. This is still the same movie that we've seen done over and over again. It's been there, done that. There's characters that are introduced that you do not give a crap about whatsoever. And there's just no rewatchability to it whatsoever. Like, once Aliens ended, that shouldn't have been it. Alien 3 Like, even Alien 3, I'd give a pass to because it was trying to do something with a first-time director in David Fincher, but it didn't quite work as much as they wanted it to. But even in Alien 3, there's still stuff in there you can look at and go, I can definitely see where you're coming from here. There is nothing good about this movie whatsoever. It is so boring and so bland and so mediocre. And I know it's not the people involved in its fault. I know it's not the director's fault. The director's fault is because the director later would go on to make great films again, like Amelie and A Very Long Engagement and Micmacs, and Joss Whedon. We've seen what his success has eventually come to after this. But so I really don't know who to blame for this. Like, who's the person I should blame for this? But like the studio, maybe, because they because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why they felt like this was the best thing they could do after Alien 3. Like, what was the point of this? What was supposed to be the purpose for this? And it just doesn't work. Like, you don't care about any of these new characters because you know they're going to die anyway. Most of them, 90% of them are going to get killed by this alien creature, and there's nothing that clever about it. There's nothing unique about it. The visuals are probably the best thing about it, but again, Alien 3 had better practical and visual effects in that movie, and at least that one had an ending to it, to that series. This just feels like a tacked-on movie. Like, you know how people right now are going after Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny as a pointless sequel that's not that great. Even though if you actually see the movie, it's actually nowhere near as bad as it should be. This is the movie that everyone thinks Indiana Jones is, except this is actually what it is for the Alien movies. After this, there was no need to make another movie out of it because they have not done anything of note, with the exception of Prometheus. But even then, that was just barely pushing it. And I don't know. Like, this movie this should have been the final nail in the coffin for the Alien series. I know they tried to do it with Prometheus, which wasn't terrible, but it still wasn't a great film. I mean, Prometheus was a movie that felt like it was way too self-congratulatory about itself before the movie even came out. The Alien vs. Predator movies are not that great either. Alien Covenant's a piece of shit. Here's hoping this new Alien movie that's coming out next year actually turns out good in this new Alien series they've got working on for FX right now. Here's hoping that turns the series around again. But honestly, you could have stopped at Alien 3, and I don't think anybody really would have been that upset about it. At least in my opinion, it wouldn't have been like that. It would have been like that. So anyway, that's Alien Resurrection. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here: Clive Owen and Mick Jagger in Bent.
I used to do some stuff. As long as I'm holding you, I'm going to stay alive.
So the story is basically revolves around the persecution of homosexuals in Nazi Germany after the murder of the SA leader Ernst Röhm on the Night of the Long Knives. It's a British-Japanese film directed by Sean Mathias, written by Martin Sherman, which, hey, who would have guessed that Jay Sherman's son actually would have gone up to become a writer? Actually, that's not true whatsoever, but that's the first thing I thought about it, was the critic and Martin Sherman, that Jay Sherman's son. But this actually was written back in 1979, and one of Clive Owen's early films. And I had no idea Mick Jagger was also in here as well. You also have Ian McKellen, Nicolaj Coster-Waldau from Game of Thrones is in here too. So is Jude Law, Paul Bettany, Rachel Weisz. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, I don't know what happened there. But like I said, Jude Law, Paul Bettany, Rachel Weisz, they were also in this movie as well. I don't know. I mean, it looks pretty. It looks like a visually stunning looking film, but I've never seen the movie before, so I don't really know if it's any good or not, but it could be good. Also, Philip Glass does the music for this too, which is very interesting. I didn't think he did that many musical scores of note here, but I know he did this, and I know he also did Fantastic Four, which two very different films in quality, more than likely, but I digress. This film, I don't know too much about it. Could be good. Has an interesting idea to it. Early is a chance to see some early works by Owen, Law, Bettany, and Rachel Weisz. So could be something interesting, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is Welcome to Cervero.
One British, one American.
Only two good things ever came from England. One America, two the Beatles.
Are about to rescue 30 kids from a war zone.
You know this is completely illegal, don't you?
We have to deal with 13 countries worse than Sarajevo.
Are we sliding up or down that scale?
Riveting and unforgettable, a powerful and remarkable film.
starring Stephen Delane, Woody Harrelson, and Marissa Tomei. Welcome to Sarajevo.
So the story for this centers around Stephen Delane and Woody Harrelson, American and British journalists who come together along with their respective news teams. They meet at the beginning of the Bosnian War in Sarajevo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And during the reports, the group find this orphanage run by the devoted Mrs. Savick, played by Marissa Tomei. No, it's not Marissa Tomei. I've never seen this movie, so I don't know for certain. But they find this woman near the front line, and feeling sympathy, they decide to take one of the children back to England illegally, and chaos ensues eventually. But yeah, as you can tell, I have not seen this movie before, so I have no idea if this is any good or not. But directed by Michael Winterbottom, who later went on to give us stuff like 24-Hour Party People, A Mighty Heart, The Road to Guantanamo, A Cock and Bull Story, The Emperor's New Clothes, some decent little films here and there. Good cast: Woody Harrelson, Marissa Tomei, Goran Viznik from ER. Strong cast overall in here, so there's definitely a lot of potential here for something really good. But I don't know. It's not something I haven't seen, so I don't really know too much about it. But my interest is piqued, though, so maybe one day I might check it out. But anyway, that is Welcome to Sarajevo.